active play. Get into the bed.
Welcome to Integrating Presence with me, Josh Dippold. It's often wise to address an elephant in a room, once discovered. And let's just call that elephant Corona-19 or CV. I sat down with the fearless and intrepid healer and advisor Sarah Edwards on July 23, 2020 at Mary's House of Healing in St. Charles, Missouri to face the CV beast headlong. Sarah's an intuitive guide, medium, Usui Tibetan Reiki master teacher and clairaudient, delivering profoundly wise, insightful, and skillful messages. Find her on Facebook at Sacred Speak with Sarah. In this informal conversation, there's plenty of, let's just call them, charming idiosyncrasies. But along with my verbal foibles, Sarah and I dig directly into the CV while touching on other related topics along the way. For instance, we discuss fear, herd mentality, psychological operations or Psyops, divide and conquer techniques, psychological and immune system erosion, the sudden difference from other viruses doctors usually just say to ride out, standing firm while disagreeing respectfully and skillfully, competition, care, being, and then a multi-layered analysis and deep dive on masks. Also, true health, authenticity, and self-love, mental abuse, consent, ushering in technocracy and tyranny, facial expressions, negative emotions, societal changes for the better, schooling versus education, negativity bias, some solutions like holding space, not being held back by others, lifestyle review, domino effect of discovering and rediscovering joy, avoiding certain establishments, and being tested in life. We talk about the complexity of energy involved in different ways of communication. Also, inverted energy and inverted behavior is normal, directly feeling our feelings, not rocking the boat, dark awakenings, self-care, equating to caring for all, and the temporary barriers to our natural state of unconditional love. Please only take what's useful for your journey and investigation. And with this, we set sail with CV viral video.
So much fear, and the more that we buy into the fear, I shared a video today. Let me show it to you. Cancel, make it big.
Oh, this is the viral one. Are these the cousins?
Yes. Did you see it?
I haven't. I heard about it though. Oh. Oh man.
It breaks my heart. This is what is happening to our kids. I mean,
we're gonna have to go down this rabbit hole a little bit.
They're broken, and we're breaking them. And I say we because we are parents who are choosing to buy into the madness.
Especially since kids don't get, they're not really susceptible to it anyway.
Well, you know what? And
barely,
honestly, even if they are, it's part of the path.
Regardless of how much validity this has or doesn't have, this is being used as a psyop. No matter what camp you fall on, they're studying people, how they react to it, how they behave, what they think, what they say to people online and offline. It's all being tracked and monitored and put in computer systems to build models for future. That's one aspect. But the big aspect is this is divide and conquer. So no matter yay or nay, it's dividing people so they can keep people divided and control them. So, but anyway, let's go back to the personal thing, because I have personal feelings about this too. So keep going.
I do believe that we all have a soul contract, and we knew before coming in if we were going to die of COVID or not.
Try explaining that to your everyday person, though.
That's why they'll kind of let me do my thing. They show me the stuff they want me to post. They tell me the stuff they want me to say. But it's not to draw, like, I'm not running out there saying, like, I'm not wearing a mask. Because I don't think that helps.
Absolutely.
But what is happening is, we are being divided. And when, like, it is so sad to see how many moms and how many, not even moms, just people that are so freaking terrified.
Yes.
And that terror eats you up on the inside.
And lowers the immune system.
Lowers your immune system.
It does,
But that's exactly where they want you to be. Yesterday, something came to me, and anytime I'm sick or anytime my kids were sick and we would go to the doctor, it's always a virus. And you know what? We can't treat a virus with anything. It just has to run its course. And then now all of a sudden we have a virus.
Yeah.
But yet we have to go to these extreme measures.
Especially when the regular flu kills more people per year than this. And the same way with TB, when that killed millions of people, they didn't declare that a pandemic. So yeah, there's so many inconsistencies. I tweeted CDC's own study about, in their journal, about the ineffectiveness of face masks. It's right there in the language, in their own study.
But then people are going to twist that.
Right, exactly.
And say, which, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
You want to wear a mask, like,
right.
You do.
See, that's the thing. Also, I have to respect their thing, because it's just this constant us versus them thing, the division. So this retreat that I'm going on, it actually started the moment I read in the email, be sure and show up with a mask. So, okay, all of a sudden, proliferation thought. How am I going to do this? What am I going to do? How am I going to kind of show my own thing against? I was able, when I was in Colorado, I had a legal exemption. I even flew in the airports, went in every store except one. Okay, if somebody asked, I would just show this legal exemption, but it really didn't matter, because the energetic blowback I was getting, especially in Colorado, where it was mandatory in businesses, I could get out legally, it just came back. But anyway, this retreat basically started when I read that. So how am I going to show up there and behave and to have compassion? How much am I living a facade and supporting a facade? And how much am I helping people feel safe and not lose their crap when they're not ready to deal with truth?
But it's like, who do you?
Right.
That's the thing.
So
it's
this
like,
is
who
going
do
to
you
be
support?
Exactly. This is a learning process for me too.
And that's the thing. As we say that, that's when spirit is like, this is exactly when, and this is going to sound really selfish, but we need to support us, because we are all divinely made and put here for a reason. We have this big thing that everyone is better than us and everything is better than us, and you have a better house and a bigger house and a better car and a bigger car, and we are so busy competing with everyone instead of just being with what we have.
And we can't really help anybody else if we're not taking care of ourselves first.
Absolutely.
So there's so many layers to this. We both obviously see our side of this, and for me, going into the other person's shoes, trying to have some empathy and concord to this, because even though I feel it's kind of ridiculous, where is the concord instead of the division? Because I feel the biggest detrimental intent to this is dividing people. So where kind of can be the common middle ground for concord? To be sympathetic, or to be empathetic, I guess. When you don't know what to do, taking any kind of action helps alleviate fear. So even if it's just like a security blanket, right? Or they don't want to show certain sides of themselves that are coming up through healing, right? Because that's the psychological part. You're hiding, right? We're hiding ourselves, right?
In a
muzzle too. So it's like
you're not speaking your truth.
Right.
You're not being authentic.
And it's like you're being silenced, right? So yeah, I mean, we obviously all see these things. So how are we going to respond in a wise way that doesn't make me look superior, like looking down on the person saying you're doing it wrong, right?
Here's how that happens is we have to have a do-over, and we have to be raised to know that we can't be empathetic and sympathetic and all of these things until we are that way with ourselves. Because while we're so busy being empathetic for other people, we're not showing them to be empathetic for yourself.
That's right.
And that's our biggest problem.
What is? Well, Sarah, but this could help them kind of maybe withdraw and go inside instead of spewing out all this stuff.
What do you mean?
Well, it's kind of like a concealing, like a containment, maybe the mask is, so where people aren't just unconsciously putting out whatever energy is coming out without being conscious of it. So putting out, all their crap, unconscious energy.
You're saying it's kind of like a buffer?
Yeah, kind of like a containment, a holding. So it's like preventing, helping people go inside.
And as you're saying that though, like I already feel my throat closing up.
Right.
So that's a symbol to me.
It is constricting.
That it's constricting.
Right. Yeah.
And honestly, that's part of...
That's a good point.
If we were to punish children and put them, in a quiet corner because they XYZ, like eventually those kids aren't going to be able to sit quietly by themselves because they're going to remember You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not teaching us how to, it's buying into fear.
It
And
is.
a
It
lot
totally
of,
is.
and
Like, yeah, I know.
I feel really bad, like, so maybe we don't ever air this. But also a lot of my clients know that when I speak and where I come from
Right.
is also, they want me to talk about
Sure.
how just unhealthy this is for us. And like, we look around at everybody.
Literally, too much carbon dioxide. People are getting.
I mean-
but okay, we both agree with this. It's both so super obvious to us. But how do we have a conversation with somebody where
We don't.
we don't? Okay.
We have to keep standing in our truth and sink into our knowing, and we have to be authentic, and we have to love ourselves enough to not worry about how other people feel about us.
Well, absolutely, totally agree. But what if it becomes so draconian where they won't even let you? I mean, okay, so when I was in Denver,
Where you can't even like go anywhere.
well, I
and-
couldn't get served food. So I eventually I was almost breaking down a little bit, and I said to the person, I said, "Do you know of any place publicly where I can get food without a mask, or are they just going to let people starve?" And there's, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know."
But that's the thing, like, this is perfect example of how, man, they're giving me some strong stuff today. Like,
Yes.
it's really a form of mental abuse. Looking at those kids, those were cousins who were kept apart for 3 months. They're literally broken little people already, and we're causing that. And the more they see
we're
us-
consenting to it.
Consenting is a good word.
Consenting, yeah.
Co-
Even
yeah.
if it's tacit consent, it's assumed consent.
Even if
we
it's
don't.
under the gaslit assumption that it is for the
Sure.
good. This
And
is
you-
for the good
and
of
you-
your fellow man.
Right. And this is conditioning people to be isolated and to withdraw into virtual reality with the Zoom things. And Zoom is great in connecting, but what is that going to be a stepping stone to completely just passing out on your couch with virtual reality goggles and not interacting again, just
Yeah.
barely being able to feed yourself and keep yourself alive so you
And
can be in a
apparently you might not even be able
virtual
to
world.
feed yourself because they're
Right.
saying, like, if you don't have, you can't go in the grocery store if you don't have the mask.
Right,
You can't.
exactly.
And I do believe that if we let this go, that it's going to get worse, and it's going to
yeah.
get more controlling. And
Well,
here's
yes.
another thing. We're going to segue real quick because another thing that Spirit really wants to talk about is the human trafficking that's happening.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And how masks are a really good way for traffickers
absolutely.
to get away with it.
But what they're doing now is what I hear is they're training the next generation of facial recognition. So they're getting so good now that they don't even need this part. They just need the eyes. So they're looking to identify the eyes. So that will also give them excuse to do like iris in eye scans. So they might have the excuse. Oh, now we need to biometric fingerprint your eyes because we can't detect because of all this stuff that we need facial recognition to save and help people. So then they can have databases of eye scans, micro movements of muscles around the eyes too. So and then once they get that database built, then they can cross-reference that to past unidentified facial images in the past, and then they can fill in the gaps, and then that builds the super algorithm so where they can detect even with partial information for facials, and then they can also use that
For like missing people?
Well, for anything, any purpose, and then they can take that new model and start making future projections and predictions through algorithms and AI too, because it just beefs up these facial recognition algorithms too. So yeah.
Yeah, because my thing is like, there's a lot of people that, I've read stories, because I am in a group. We're doing a protest in like the end of August for saving the children and to like stand up for all of the child trafficking and all this stuff that's happening. And I've read stories.
I have to share a mantra though, the first one. The children are set free and may it begin with me. There's a whole energetic MatCon seminar, and that's the mantra that ties everything together, and he does the energetic part of it too.
Yeah.
But anyway, keep going.
But I've read a lot of stories where women have like been on an airplane or been in a gas station and they mouth the words "help me" or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
How do you see that? We don't see that anymore. And we, as a society, we're not in tune with, I can look someone in the eye and pick up what they're saying without needing to see their mouth, but not everybody is that in tune.
That, no.
And
you lose the whole full human expression.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It baffles me. It blows my mind.
And how quickly society's been changed overnight. Just how quick everybody's changed their behavior. The thing is, though, how are we going to present if we're in these situations where they're dire situation? How are we going to be able to respond instead of react emotionally with things like this? It's going to be challenging, because a lot of times when I was in this one situation, I was just completely feeding on the person's energy that was coming at me. So I wasn't really able to respond. I was more reactive.
Picking up the fear.
Right. Exactly.
When am I going to eat? Where can I find food?
Right. Exactly.
What,
it's total root energy.
And then when you're in that mood or in that mode or in that energy, it cuts off
everything. Yeah. It's just survival, fight and flight. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like before COVID, we had a hard enough time reading and recognizing the things going in our body, that now everyone, the fear, the anxiety, the anger, the sadness, there's so many people sad because their kids first kindergarten, they're going to be going at home, people didn't graduate, no proms, and not that stuff is all very, I don't want to say materialistic, but they're saying it is because honestly, we don't even really need school.
Well, not the way it is now. No,
not the way it is.
We need education.
We need
not
education,
school,
but we need more of human education.
Absolutely.
Not here, we're going to learn how to write letters and numbers, because guess what? If you're a soul that is supposed to be writing letters and numbers in this life, you're just going to get them.
Right. And the thing is, though, too, schooling is show up on time, sit down, shut up,
do what I say,
listen to the authority figure, so you can be a
perfect
good
conditioning
worker. That's all it's about.
Yeah.
And do repetitious things, and we're going to grade you on how you're doing it right or wrong, and
follow my lead.
It's not you just perform on the test. It doesn't matter what you learn or retain, or it's just doing the goal, and then
I don't know.
Work
it's just it's hard. But
so that's one good thing. That's one good thing about this. I think a lot of that's might go away. But that's the thing. We talk about negativity bias, Sarah. We are just experts at pointing out what's wrong. What's challenging for me, and it seems like you, maybe I could be wrong, is
how do we resolve it?
What are we here to learn, and what are the potential upsides of this? I mean, how can we transmute this into for the well-being of all, and for the things we want instead of the things we don't want.
Well, that's
or the things
kind of
that
why
are
people
beneficial and helpful instead of the things that are all wrong. Right?
Well, we were sat
now. We don't
down.
want to deny what needs to be working on. We can't be Pollyannish and be in denial and hide under a rock.
Well,
just acknowledge that, but
then
put our attention on things. Right.
People have free will, and so we can't. We have to be here and hold space for those that are ready to raise their vibration. We can't, and this is coming from spirit, we can't hold ourselves back for others any longer.
Absolutely.
And I know that sounds kind of harsh.
No.
But
a little bit.
You know what?
No, the thing
but
is.
we can't.
But still, this is kind of dodging the positive negative question. You know what I'm saying?
Well, real quick though, the timeout that they gave us during COVID, what we were supposed to do is to have a seat in the life that we've created thus far. Are you happy with your partner? Are you happy where you live? Are you happy with your job? Are you happy with the way of, the prior rat race with all the sports, all the this, all the that, and so a lot of people, I've seen a big shift where, a lot of people are realizing that they found a joy that they've had, many, many, many years ago that they just couldn't find time for because they got caught in the rat race. And so that is a lot of the positive that's happening, because people are able to find they're happy, and the more, and not just happy, but true happy. And the more they feel that, the more it's just going to, their energy is going to shift, and then the people that they're around, it's like, it's a domino effect.
Yes.
So what they tell me that I have to do is I just have to stay firm in my knowing of where I'm at, but also not be disrespectful. So like, I don't go around places and I'm not like, I don't have a mask on, I think you're
Right,
filling
but
a bunch
it's
of...
more subtle. It's kind of like a subtle thought. Oh, okay, this is where you're at. This is where I'm at.
Yeah,
for me a
I
lot of
try
times,
to
yeah.
stay, basically, and
But still,
I
if
try
I
to
could-
stay away from the places that are requiring them,
Right,
just because, like, I went to lunch the other day, and it was out in Jefferson County, so there weren't masks required, but when you go into the host stand to sit down, they scan your temperature, and I actually stood there for a second while I waited for someone to come scan my temperature, like, this is so strange. But then the message I got from Spirit was like, this is okay. Honestly, like, they were kind of like, fine, if they just want to.
Were they recording it though? Like
No.
those
It was
devices
just
don't
it was
keep
just
track
one of
either?
those, I don't know, it was like one of those temporal,
Right.
like I have for my kids,
I've
but it
heard
was
this
just
a
a
lot,
quick
yeah.
beep, because if you have a fever, then you
Right.
can't come in, and if you don't, then they seat
Yes,
you.
yeah.
And so, the message I got from Spirit is something like that is not as invasive as it is with the mask, because honestly, the mask,
It's pervasive too. Keeps going and going. Yeah.
the mask is, like you said, the perfect symbolism for being silenced.
Silenced. Yep. Another thing is that this is going to be a medical situation, so the new authority is not so much cops, but there's going to be the people in the medical industry. They're going to be the new authority figures, right? So they're going to be the people
Scanning
in
the
charge
crowd
now.
to see who
That too.
has one, who
who's
doesn't.
compliant, who's not. And then these people that in the medical industry, they're going to be running the show now, because they say if you get to, they're talking about travel restrictions and
Oh,
visas,
yeah, and if you don't have a
passport
vaccine, you can't.
immunity. So we've heard of all that. But this is a thing for me that I had a hard time respecting the medical industry too. So one of my practices recently would just be kind of to send a conscious thought to people I meet. Okay, I'm sending respect to this person. You look at the wrong things with this person instead of, okay, this person is worthy of my honor and respect too, no matter what, whatever character they appear to be.
Right.
To see through the divinity or the
I'm
Buddha,
a big
Buddha
bless
nature.
them
yeah.
on their path.
Absolutely.
Because everyone's path is different.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
some people, this life, like,
Send blessings.
they're not here to
Exactly.
go up. They are here to wear the masks and to, be in the fear
Test
and the
us,
this
too.
and to test us. And
Yeah.
so it's about
Non-player character.
Yeah, it's just like, I try to, like you said, respect
Yeah.
everyone wherever they are today for them, and then worry about myself being
Not worry,
a good
but care,
yeah.
yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, just focusing on
Exactly.
myself being a kind, compassionate, empathetic human, and saying that, yes, I can still be that without falling into the whatever word is
Right,
I'm
yeah.
looking for.
Yeah,
the
well,
masses, I guess.
Yeah, or pity or blame, or not staying true to yourself, or living a lot. Exactly.
That's really what it is,
it's a
and not
balance,
staying
right?
true
We're
to
talking about.
to
Yep.
yourself, because that's one of the biggest
authenticity. Yep.
one of the biggest things with being on this spiritual path is your true authenticity, because it doesn't show or help anyone find their own if we are not being authentic.
Absolutely. So we lead by
Completely.
lead by example, because a lot of times what I learned early on is that people don't pay attention so much to what we say. It's almost how we say it, right? The energy behind it, how
Oh,
they're taking
absolutely.
it, receiving it, feeling it.
is the energy behind it.
Because the words are kind of like ancillary or secondary, right?
Absolutely.
It's how it's being.
Well, that's like in a text message. Why,
That's
you
what's so-
can sense, you absolutely can
know.
sense tone in text. However,
I
that being
sometimes
said,
misinterpret that.
exactly.
Yeah, so
Like, there's a
much.
lot of times that I will pick up on an agitated energy, but it's actually not at me, but they
Right.
might be dealing with something
Exactly.
else that
And
they're
they might not
agitated.
be conscious of that either,
Right,
right? So,
but
I know. That's why
And
I
that's
love
the thing,
talking
like
to them.
with kids, we are really not doing a very good, or we're doing a big disservice to our children, because, there are so many of them growing up in families where, like you said, I mean, they see a lot of words happening between mom and dad, or dad and dad, or mom and mom, whatever, but they feel the energy of the disconnection, you know? And so now we have a bunch of adult children running around. They don't know how to talk and communicate because they've learned, okay, we can say these words, but it doesn't matter how we really feel, because, and it becomes like an unconscious trained behavior.
Wow, that's so important, because some people are energetically sensitive. It really impacts them. Some people are not.
Right.
You know, it's like, that's not important. Why are you paying attention to that? Yeah.
Right.
Or even they can't even conceive of that being a thing, you know.
Well, and with kids, you know, I mean, I'm definitely like a big kid now myself, and like looking back on how, like, you know, the relationships that I saw growing up, you know, the action and the energy behind the words was always completely different.
Yes.
And so you have a bunch of confused people because we don't know.
I think we've talked about this before. It's like, when I heard somebody say this, I was like, wow, yes. Why do people say one thing, mean something entirely different, than act in an even different way than that? So you have all this confusion. You know, when I was growing up, I thought people...
That's why we can't manifest, too, when our energy is going 3 different directions.
And some people show affection for each other by putting them down, you know? That's how they think that's kindness. Well, it's not. So I didn't really realize that so much.
Any attention is attention, right?
So some people that you think that they're being affectionate by putting each other down, you know, and I thought, I picked up on that, but I didn't realize how detrimental that was and how that affected my behavior too. So and it would just be out of place for me to be, you know, show loving kindness to somebody around my buddies when they're just kind of, you know, giving each other crap all the time, you know, just to hang out,
and especially like with guys too, you know, that's a big thing, because, you know, most masculines were not taught anything about handling their emotions. The number one thing that, you know, most of them are taught is how to deflect. And it usually has something to do with, and like when you pick on friends or whatever, like, that's an angry energy.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, but we don't look at it.
We've conditioned it to be, that's normal. You know, that's how people behave. You know, that's how we get along. No, I mean, a lot of that's kind of going away now, or changing. But okay, so I went to read the thing here about feelings and why things repeat. When you are afraid to face your feelings, it just means that you are apprehensive about being overwhelmed by emotions that are difficult to feel. Maybe such feelings remind you of moments in life when there was hardship, heartache, neglect, confusion, cruelty, betrayal, or even abandonment. Life is so inherently flawless, even when emotions get suppressed, the universe gently moves you one step closer to cultivating the strength and courage to face your feelings directly. This is why experiences repeat, and we all get it perfectly in the end.
I love that.
Isn't it? Because the feelings directly, sometimes we'll think it's okay, we're feeling that, but to actually feel what we're not wanting to feel directly because it's too scared, or
whatever.
When I try to do that, when I try to go into certain feelings directly, there's actually parts of my body too where I'm trying to get into the actual emotion of that, but my attention won't stay there for whatever reason. Maybe it's too strange, or they don't want to deal with it now, so my attention will go off. So I keep trying to bring it back, and it's like, okay, I have enough courage to be here. Because how imperfect the universe is, we're eventually all getting around to having the courage to face feelings that we neglect too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and honestly, that's what a lot is coming up right now.
And how it repeats, but I still haven't got the total connection of how that ties into things repeating, because we won't face our feelings. But I guess, I can kind of see it.
Well, look at the history that we have. And not just America, but as like an entire, like the entire globe. Think, like, just look at all of and even right now, like if you are on Twitter or on Facebook, like we're seeing pictures where they are showing us, hey, remember like the flu of 1812?
Well, the yellow fever too. Yeah, that's the whole story.
All these pictures of people walking around in masks, and so it's like, we're obviously going through this again now to relearn something, and honest to God, I think, okay, I think what it is that we have to just focus on ourselves. But that's so hard because then we're not
feel
thinking
guilty,
about other
yes,
people.
exactly.
Yeah, and
Especially
we're
for
not
the
being
feminine.
empathetic
Yes,
and
absolutely.
compassionate. Because I know I can feel with you, like it's really hard for you. Like you really struggle with kind of like holding space for those that are caught up in
Absolutely.
the need for the mask.
So
and I get it. I totally do.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that being said,
absolutely.
that is also part of the. You have a very good knack for keeping everyone quiet when things are exploding behind you. Does that make sense?
So
you would feel the energy shifting in a room,
yeah.
and then it's almost like you would keep it calm,
Well,
and so you would do whatever you would have to do.
That comes from my upbringing too. My
Right.
parents
That's how it always is.
totally emotional. I love my folks to death, and when I changed, my relationship got better with them, and they got better too.
Absolutely.
But when I was a kid, I didn't know how to deal with all these intense emotions, and I didn't want to feel this intense emotions that was going, but sometimes I just would lash out, but I didn't want this to happen. So it's like sometimes suppressing, but just wanting things to be better. So that's more likely where
and
that
almost
comes from.
kind of like a don't rock the boat thing.
Absolutely, yeah, because there's enough chaos and suffering and pain being projected everywhere.
Right.
Why does it need to be perpetuated?
So I've been struggling a little bit with kind of keeping myself in like the light, and I know I can feel a lot of my people, not a lot, but some of my people on Facebook, they're kind of the stuff I post about the kids are kind of like, God, how can she, like, why is she always so dark and so this, but the thing is like, this is part of my mission, is like, I am here, I'm getting complete, full guidance on, I am here to help bring, because the children that we're saving, these are actually the kids that are going to save the world.
And a lot of my path is dark awakenings like that too.
Yes.
So a lot of people don't want to believe this is happening, right? So some of this darkness, at least in the beginning, is just to say, hey, you need to take a look at this and stop denying it, pretending it doesn't exist. So bring it to light. But at a certain point, when the awareness is raised enough, what is the positive, energetic, and practical action to take on this, right? So, but until people will face the fact that shit is real and going on, I definitely feel it needs to be brought to light. Now we're going back real quick to what you said about trying to take care of ourselves. I love the perception though that it doesn't have to be an either or. So when we love our own hearts in self-care for ourselves, it ripples out, and we don't have to do anything. Just by taking care of ourselves, the energetic after effect and the self-care.
So the more that we do that,
when we love our own heart, our heart beats in the heart of all. So when we love one heart, all hearts are loved.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, and that's really where we are supposed to be getting as a collective, is to the point of unconditional love. Because that's really what it's about, is unconditionally. Because if we unconditionally loved everybody, then people would love us even though we're not in a mask. And we would love everybody. And
you don't even have to think about it.
You don't even have to think about it. It would
just be the natural state. Yeah. And actually, that is our natural state. Once of these blockages are removed,
absolutely,
it just happens naturally. When those fade out, that's our natural state, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.